learning how to read the signal itself, whether it be Forex or the spreads or the dailies or any of it, do you realize what I'm about to show you is a very well kept secret in this market? And what scares a lot of people, like I was telling Mike before, is that the industry doesn't want to tell you these things because it's afraid that it will affect you. I'm not afraid to tell you because I know it's going to affect you. And because the effect that I want to see from you as a trader is that once you have that knowledge, you now know it's mostly on your ability to be able to trade using common sense and timing rather than an absolute knowledge, right? That you know it's going to go up. Because anything can happen. You can flip around on you. Trump can come out and say that he wants to, propagate and buy Mars or something. Who knows, right? It can be anything. Anything can change this market. There's no one way to predict a direct movement all of the time. There's all these things that go against you. But I want to show you something, and I took a screenshot of the algorithm from, and this is not the algorithm, by the way, but I took a screenshot of one of the variant systems we use for the algorithm called sine. And a sine is basically a devised process of figuring out positive or negative, right? And this is one of the equations we use to calculate the positive negative SGN from the variable, from the actual algorithm that produces the signal, right? So if you think of it that in this process, that what are our signals? Well, however we derive to them and give you a buy mentality or a sell mentality, right? It's 50-50, right? It's right in the middle. So let's start off with that. It's right in the middle, right? You either take a buy or you take a sell. This is why it's called a binary. Even in Forex, still a binary kind of mentality. It's either up or down, right? You're hedging on one side or the other, right? So the concept here is the next thing is to figure out, because we have a direction, is on that direction how many pips above that area. So if it's a positive amount of pips that you win, right? If you do a buy and you have plus 1 pip, is that a win? Yeah, that's a win, right? So that goes up into the win column. But if it was a -1 pip, that would be a loss. So it would be -1 in the win column, right? Which would be 1 in the loss column, right? Does that make sense?
Yep.
And it's the same thing on the sell side. You either give it a plus value if you won on the sell, or a minus value if you lost on the sell. And this creates our average, right? And our average is the sum of our wins and losses on either side, right? So you're getting that. Now, what does it create as a win-loss is another variable in time, which most people don't do, by the way. Most people, when they're trading Forex in an algorithm, they take a buy, right? They give you what? A stop loss. And they say, set your stop loss at a certain amount, let's just say 20 pips, right? And they tell you, okay, so you'll set your stop loss at 20 pips and you'll take your take profit, let's say like 20 pips. If they're smart, this is an R1 to 1, right? Right, you're risking 20 pips to make 20 pips. And how do they validate whether or not they won? Is that if they hit their 20 pips, they take their money, right? Or they can scalp out in a positive pip, right? They can scalp out with 10, 15 pips, whatever it is, right? 20 pips, so even 1 pip, right? They get scared to get out. But that then truly just floats because you don't really know the true success rate is. Because what happens if they didn't scalp out? What happens if they did scalp out? Maybe it was at 27 pips. You know, it never got to 27 pips because their take profit would have kicked in. But maybe they took their take profit off and let it try to go further. There's all these little games people play when they're trading Forex. So at this point, all the weight stands on the direction, right? And the success of win-loss on stop loss or take profit. That's three major variables that have to happen in order to create an average of success or loss. In our system, we've created a value on the direction, but has given it a life, a shortened life by a time period, by time, right? We'll call this time, of usually 1 hour or 45 minutes to 1 hour. And we let this do this because we've noticed that when our algorithm, because now listen, this is specific to our one algorithm that we're using for the intradays, right? Granted, I'm telling you what it is. And what we use for the intradays for Nadex, we're using right now for Forex with a few other small details put in. And what we do is that we concentrate on the buy or on the direction, and we say for the next 45 minutes to an hour, when the signal fires off, have that market open. Create a stop loss to protect yourself of 20 pips, okay? But we also show you inside how to trim the fat on this, right, Mike? It's called trimming the fat.
Yep.
And we say we're going to teach you how to do that. You know, start it off right away at 20 pips on that side, and do a take profit at 20 pips on the other side immediately as soon as you put the trade on, because its time is of the essence. As soon as that signal comes out, you got to get it on. So once you get it on in Forex, now you got it on. Now you have a trade on, right? It says buy, it'll say 20 pips on the one side and 20 pips on the other. Now you can go in and look at, you know, where's the market highs and lows, and where are the variances, where's the trend connection at, you know, and then you can trim this down. So sometimes you'll trim it down to, like, say 13 pips on the stop loss, because if it does break this margin, you know it's going to continue on, and or if it's going to break that, it's going to fall down below, you know, you're going to protect yourself. And if the market's like super skyrocketing, and you know, and you're going to make your money, you want to get your 20 pips, get your take profit. So you can trim that in. You can even extend this. It could be like 27, 28, 29 pips, whatever. But because you're looking at market value, you know, has everybody gotten out right around here? And this creates a resistance area. You wouldn't put your take profit up here. You'd put it right here or just below here. You know, get your money before it reverses, right? So with that said, the success now of the signals doesn't take in consideration a take profit value. It uses the time value to stop the trade. And the reason why we did this was because if a signal is successful, it has a plus in the pips, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If it's not successful, it has pips. But it wasn't about a win-loss, success, not success scenario for us, because that's not where it stopped. Now, if you wanted to just trade that alone, is it successful, Mike? Does it have profit in it? Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Not a lot. Not a lot for how many trades it goes. It doesn't have a lot of money that you can make just trading it straight, not even taking into consideration. Just follow the signal all the way out and get off in that hour, get off in that 45 minutes. You might win some that have like 16, 17 pips in it. You might lose some that are like 17, 18 pips, but you'll win a lot that'll have like 2 or 3 pips on the win. You'll have 4 or 5 pips. You might lose, like you have 1 or 2 that are like 2 or 3 pips in the loss. So you won't lose a lot, but you won't win a lot. And how do we confirm which direction to go with? Well, let's go back to that 50-50 scenario again, right? That 50-50 scenario of the up or the down, right, is that if this is 50% success or failure, right, either side of it, and this is the top side and this is the bottom side, when the algorithm plays off, if it wins, it keeps going up, right? It's on the top side of that. Once it loses, it gets closer back to that 50% line. If you fall below 50%, you're in the negative side, right? So let's just say this is 40%, and then 30%, and then 20%, and so forth, right? You got 60, 70, and 80%. So, oops, sorry, 60, 70, and then 80%. Is this, if the algorithm's working out pretty good, give me one second. If the algorithm's working out pretty good, and it's been winning and it's up like this. So it's had a few losses here and like that, right? And it's sitting up, say 65, 67%. Do you follow the signal here? If a signal comes out right now here at this point and it says do a buy, you would do a buy, right? If the signal came out here and it was in the success rate, say 60, 67, 78%, or however much it would be, and it said do a sell, you would do a sell, right? But if it was down here under the algorithm not being successful and it said do a sell, what would you do? Anybody? A buy. That's right. Now, this sounds very like rudimentary, right? It sounds like this is kindergarten stuff. You know, when it's doing good, go with it. When it's not doing good, do the opposite. Right? So why is it so rudimentary? Why does it sound like kindergarten stuff? Because folks, it is. Your success of being able to, I mean, it's almost like a trust factor. The only thing that can never change, what is the one thing in the system that can never change because it'll screw up all the numbers? It's only one thing that can't change, and that's the algorithm can't change. I can't add anything to it. I can't take anything away from it. I have to let it just do its thing, and that's what it's doing right now. It's doing its thing. So if the algorithm is working well, it's going to be in the positive. If it's not working well, now, it doesn't mean that it's not working well and it's terrible algorithm, it shouldn't be used or what have you. It means that for that pair and that asset, it's trading in a negative balance, right? It's trading in a negative process. So you need to do the opposite, which means that if I wanted to, I could push a button and make it trade in a negative and show you the actual sell on it. I could actually make it do that. But I want you as the individual, okay, because we thought about doing this, just make it, you know, once it falls below 49%, make it automatically flip itself. But I needed you as the consumer, as the member, as the partner, as the investor, to be able to see this value. Because once you understand it, once you begin to see this, you begin to see it everywhere. In everything that you do. When I started trading with this, when I started looking at the value of the positive, negative consequence on an algorithm, on something that works, I started to look at it on things like the dailies, the SR maxes, the intradays. I started to look on it, especially on the SR maxes, where you get a knowledge of a strong trade side and then it flips. I started looking at it as a scalping mentality of if it's going to do that, where is it at in that relationship? Because we say 50% in the win-loss ratio, but where could an algorithm sit at in its plus or minus value? Because our plus or minus value right now is 50%. Okay, so if it's sitting at 60, you go with it. If it's sitting at 40, you go against it. If you had another line like this, the middle of positive or negative may not be 50%. It might be 70%, right? So if a signal base is producing less than 70%, this line usually is, right? You ready for it? Is your break even. You ready for this, Mike?
Mm.
So if you're trading a system on the net, right? You're trading, let's say you're trading the intradays, right? In the intradays, you're usually buying on Nadex, you're usually buying them for, say, what? What do you usually buy them for? $78?
Yeah, 78.22.
Right? 78.22. Where is your middle line at? What number has it? Can anybody tell me? Where is your positive negative if your algorithm works? Can anybody see it? Can you see the value? get it now? If your win or loss ratio, if you're buying contracts for $78 to $22, 78 for the risk side, this is the risk, and this is your value, this is your reward, right? You need to have anything that if it's doing 78% or below, you need to do the opposite. And if it's doing 78% and above, you need to go with it. Anybody see that? Any one of our signals can be done with that now.
Interesting.
Do you know what else can be done at that level, Mike?
Forex.
Well, yeah, all of it. 5 minute, 1 hour, 2 hour,
Wow.
3 hour. But you need to have a couple of things to be able to do that, right? And if you're doing like 5 minute, I don't produce down the results for 5 minute trades, folks. But if you were doing your journal and your success ratio was under 40%, then you've got a big problem. I haven't seen one under that low. I mean, I've seen a few people make a lot of mistakes. You have to learn how to stop that kind of stuff. But this kind of mentality, if you were covering, and I wouldn't say try it for 5 minutes. Don't try to devise something for 5 minutes. I hear your brain already going like 62.
No. I've learned my lesson.
But all of you have to know that the value here of the plus or minus stuff, this is not about showing you this process for everything that we do, but for the Forex side is to creating this value of the plus or minus as it work for you or against you. And you need to see this, you need to feel it, you need to trade with it, you need to keep that in your mentality. Because if not, this equation that I put together to be able to give us that has produced that value of the go with or go against mentality. And everything comes back to the mean. That means that the value of it being successful or going against you, you know, if this is the 60 and this is the 40, it's always going to do this. Always. It's always going to return here into this value, into somewhere in here. It's going to return somewhere, somehow, sometime. Your win-loss, your process, the signal itself, it's always going to return. So the one thing you never trust is completely 100%, completely 0%, or 50%. Exactly. Because you don't know which way to go. Right? But these would be three great areas for what? That if you're trading on spreads, you would do a double bear box, bull box on 100% or close to it, even above a certain amount, right? When it's exactly at 50% and when it's really close to the other end, when it's to the range of its movement, right? Because what do these become? Overbought and oversold areas? Yeah. You'll probably get that here soon. You'll see it. A lot of determination goes into this of seeing the numbers there. So the algorithm, movement over time, price, we sort of covered this, the trend, these are the things that factor in the algorithm, and this will always remain consistent. As my gift to all of you is to have that availability, is to remain consistent and not change things around at the drop of a hat. I'm not going to give you and that's the other thing too, is that the algorithm all stayed the same. The way we trade them may be a little different, but the algorithms are still the same. They're range-based, they're time emergence, they're movements, there are a few things in that factor, right, that hit us the signal. But we still use risk management, we still use these things, these consistent values, right? We learn how to make the recipe better. We're still making a cake, but we're still using the pans, we're using the measuring cups, we're still using the tools to get to that value. Some of the ingredients may change, but the values are still there. The way that we do them are still there. Of course, learning how to look left and find structure is going to be very important. This positive, negative, the sign always needs data to be able to have, right? We talked about not having the 100%, or not trusting the 100%, 0, 50%, of course. In order to be able to trade this network, I'm speeding through some of this because I'm losing on time because I really wanted you to get that mentality there. But Forex.com, the trading platform, we're not going to get any money from them. We're going to train you on their system. And I might put on, I don't know how fast, but attaching the MT4, you can actually trade through MT4 on their system. But I think I want you to stay with their platform for now. As a novice going on, I want you to stay with their platform because they have some pretty cool tools over there. And I was showing Mike the other day using the chart, the trade, all that stuff. Pretty powerful, right? And it's easy to use, very easy to use. And it's complicated. It looks complicated when you first get there, but I'm going to teach you how to strip it all down to zero, right? And you're going to start from there. It's going to be pretty cool. You'll just see that, all right? Now, always keep in mind, making money in this very beginning part of the phase of doing, if you're trading Forex, if you're going to trade Forex, like if you're trading anything, right? It's not about making money in the very beginning. What is it about? It's about the pips. It's about the pips, right? Can anybody tell me why it's about the pips? Anybody in the room? Can you tell me as an ending note here today? Come on, don't make me push this button before anybody answers. Why is it about the pips? 3, 2, 1. You're gonna kick yourself. Thor was gonna get it too. I knew it. Thor was writing in that last thing. He's like, I'm gonna get it. Pips equals dollars. Yeah, that's pretty close. But it's all about the pips, because if you become positive at the end of the day on your pips, you're a success. Makes Gladys Knight successful. Thank you, buddy. But it's that consistent value of ROI, that consistent value of being ahead of the game, because then you do what? Because it's not about the money itself, right? Because
he keeps telling me this, guys. Listen to him. He keeps telling me this all the time. Because I equate it to money first.
Right. Because here's where all of you, right? And here's where you guys are like, oh, this is a cool algorithm, C plus V equals G. Okay, but listen, it really does help your mentality, because who's more successful? A guy who could trade 20 pips a day, or a guy who does $200 a day? If a guy makes $200 a day, and this is what he can make, right? He's making $200 a day. He's fighting it. I won't even tell you how many pips he's making, but he's making $200 a day. Who's more successful? Anybody? 20 pips. $200 a guy day. He did one trade for one lot, right? Then he went in and did 2 lots, and he lost. Then he went back and did 3 lots, and he won. And then he did a Hail Mary, and he did 6 lots, right? And he traded all day. Where the guy who did 20 pips, he knows that he could do 20 pips every day. He might be only making $2, and then later on, as he increases and done 10 lots, he can make 200. Now he's got to where this guy's at. But he gets even better, and he does 20 lots. Now he's making 400, because he knows he can do 20 pips. Now this is just 20 pips. If you're looking at this, doing 40 pips is a version of adding more volume, but you got to get better. But being able to add a certain amount of pips to your repertoire only becomes relevant once you become more disciplined and secure with trading. This is why I talk to a lot of people when they say, yeah, I was trading, but I was only winning about trades a day, or 4 trades a day. And then that 4 trades a day, I was only making $20, and I was making $80 a day. So how many contracts are you trading? Oh, I was only trading 1 contract, but I can't live $80 a day. Oh, it's so tough. Quit your bitching. I'm telling you right now, if you don't follow this little equation here and get to that 4 or 5 trades a day, how many trades do you fucking need to win a day to make any money? No, it's not about the pip. It's about the win. It's about being positive on the win. It's about making the pip. It's about making the win on Nadex.